Hello friends, my name is Reverend Bill Booth, and if you've come to my channel you know that I've been doing these reflections once or twice a week as we go through this pandemic time. Today I wanted to talk about a verse that comes out of the first letter of Peter to the church. It's the lectionary reading for tomorrow, or at least portion of it. So here it is. Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that is taking place among you to test you, as though something strange was happening to you. But rejoice insofar as you are sharing Christ's suffering, so that you may also be glad and shout for joy when his glory is revealed. What a great line. Do not be surprised as you go through this fiery ordeal. And what could be more relevant in our situation as we go through this time of isolation and distancing and worry and anxiety in our own communities and around the world of this pandemic. Now let's be honest, here in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, we have a great deal to be grateful for. The medical system, the beauty of creation around us, green fields and produce. It's already showing up at a farmer's market, for instance. We are blessed in many ways, and even here in Canada, as collectively we're blessed, and blessed in BC when we compare ourselves to Ontario, Quebec, or imagine living in Nova Scotia at this point, where they've had one psychic blow after another in the last month or so. The latest being, a snowbird pilot person from Nova Scotia dying in the crash in Kamloops. We can look around the world and see that many people are dealing with a much greater fiery ordeal than we are. Yet still we are here, and just because someone's suffering more or struggling more or has less blessings doesn't mean that we aren't emotionally, spiritually challenged by the fiery ordeal we're going through. We are separated from friends and family, from church community, from neighbors. We're having to be always on guard as we go out into the world to try to take care of our basic needs. It is an ordeal. It is a struggle. And let's not minimize it, even though we can recognize that we are so blessed. But Peter's letter is to the church in the midst of a fiery ordeal of their own, and he is encouraging, the letter writer is encouraging the people of faith to recognize that they do not suffer alone. That, in fact, the suffering, their fiery ordeal, their suffering binds them to or connects them to the suffering of Christ, the suffering of Jesus, and therefore to the glory of Christ, or the resurrection to new life and wholeness that is offered in that resurrection experience and understanding and theology. So in the midst of our fiery ordeal, we can also remember that it's not for no point. There's no benefit. There's not as if there's no benefit to it. We can be blessed and move forward and made whole through our struggles. And it is a great spiritual practice or understanding that as we go through our ordeals, our struggles, our suffering, it takes away our prideful, powerful self-reliance, or our belief in our self-reliance, helping us to recognize that we need everyone around us, that we need those who make our world work. Suddenly we're understanding how essential the folks are that puts groceries on the shelves, or the guy that drives the truck, or the person sitting in the assembly line in the food processing plant, or the person cleaning the hallways in the hospital, or the delivery people, or one of 100 different people that seem to have always done the simple little job that we gave the least amount of status and importance to, and maybe even paid minimum wage to. And here we find that they are essential to our well-being of ourselves and to our culture and society. In the same way, we need to understand that we need to let go of our sense that we are some great thing that's accomplished great things, or that it's all reliant on us and we've done it all ourselves. We actually rely on each other so much. Our suffering and our fiery ordeal is an opportunity to peel away, to burn away our sense of pride that thinks that we've got it all together. And when we've done that, then spiritually we can understand of our need to rely on God, to rely on the power of the Holy Spirit, to surrender our will to the Spirit of God within us and in our world, so that we can become whole, so that we can become whole. The greatest barrier to our wholeness and to our spiritual wealth and our spiritual health and well-being is our ego pride that we don't need God, that we don't need the power of the Spirit in our lives, that we don't need the power of love that binds us with others, and we don't need others. And when we've lost that pride, and then we find just how blessed we are by those in our lives who care for us and help us, and even when it's paying their salary through our buying our groceries or whatever, that the sense that we are all tied in together and we all need each other, and this system that we live in doesn't work unless we support and value everyone in it. This is an opportunity to change our world and to change our lives and understanding of our world. We need each other. So as we go through our fiery ordeal, we have to understand, or we can understand, or it's an opportunity to understand, that we are a fragile piece of the intricate whole that God places us within. Tied together and bound together by love, by compassion for one another. And in our struggles, in our fiery ordeal, in our suffering, we suffer with, we journey with the risen Christ, who died and suffered. Jesus died and suffered on the cross and risen up as the Christ, and will be glorified and is glorified in us and through our work and through our compassion. And we then participate in the glory of God. And finally, on this short little reflection, I think it's pretty short. I want to quote to you a 2nd century church father, theologian, Irenaeus, and I know that you've heard me say this before, perhaps. I put this in the bottom of many of my emails. The glory of God is a human being fully alive. And to be fully alive is to know the fullness of life, the good and the bad, the struggles and the joys. Fully alive, we glorify God. And so through our fiery ordeal, we are made whole. Thanks be to God. Thank you for listening. Blessings.